All right, we're going to dial up Scott Cornell right now. He is a crime and transportation business lead at Travelers Insurance. Crime and transportation theft leave. Is this Scott? This is Dooner and the Dude on What the Truck. What's up, man?
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having us.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for joining us on the air. I love your title there, Crime and Transportation Business Lead, Crime and Theft Specialist. How much crime and theft is there in the supply chain in the unit that you oversee?
Well, across the supply chain, there's a decent amount of cargo theft, and right now, as an example, cargo theft is up pretty well. So, different times of the year are busier for cargo theft than others, but it's something that a lot of people don't think about, but it's definitely there.
Yeah. Hey, Scott, Mike Vincent here. Thanks for joining us today. An interesting subject, being in the business for 33 years on the actual side of moving freight and not here at Freightways. But, we always said if you don't think you got a theft problem, then you've got a major theft problem. If you think you've got a theft problem, then you've got a theft problem. Right. It just keeps going. But so,
that's a good way of saying it, yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So, so what are some of the things? So give us a little background of what you do there, and what are some of the things when people should be selecting their cargo insurance carrier? Exactly what are you doing there? Kind of a background.
Yeah, so I lead transportation for Travelers in the Marine. I've been with Travelers for just under 20 years, and then prior to taking over to lead transportation, I led the cargo theft investigation group that we'll talk a little bit about today. So I think, when you're selecting your cargo insurance carrier, there's a few basic questions you should ask yourself. How long have they been doing this? And are they really a cargo insurance carrier? Meaning, is this really what they do? If they're new to the market, they may not have the expertise or the ability that really supports you in the way an experienced carrier can. They may not have all the resources that you need. Do they offer specialization in this space? I think specialization is important. I think it's tremendously valuable, especially when something goes wrong and even before. So, because it means that they tend to understand the differing needs and the requirements that your organization has based specifically on what you do. A good example of that would be a reefer hauler or someone shipping food is really going to care about potential contamination issues. So things like temperature controls and seal integrity are going to be critical.
Yes.
Next.
Steve Ferreira, just real quick in the comments, he was just kind of building upon an earlier point. He said, ocean freight cargo theft is the easiest to pull off. With advanced public data, any sophisticated theft ring can rig the system.
Yeah. So there's a couple different types of cargo theft. One is called strategic theft. One is called straight theft. The strategic theft is when they really manipulate the information. They pretend to be somebody that they're not. They insert themselves into the arrangement of the deal, and they trick people into giving them the cargo. So yeah, that can be pretty tricky.
Is there something that's commonly overlooked or not thought about when shopping for coverage? Sometimes people tend to block out. I mean, insurance. My dad was a lifelong insurance guy. He did marine cargo insurance back in the day, and he said one of the things about selling insurance, getting people to use insurance, is that people don't like to focus on what can happen to shipments or the negativity that can happen. But it's not really something you want to gamble with, is it?
It's not. I think it's important. I think claims is where the rubber meets the road, right? A lot of people say that. So, do they have a dedicated claim team? Is their claim team dedicated to transportation? Here at Travelers, our claim team is fully dedicated to cargo. They do that, full time every day. What type of coverage are you being offered? Is it, to me, it's essential to have a simple, easy to read form, right? So you can understand when you're covered and when you're not. A legal liability form, as an example, tends to be a little easier to understand and really should offer protection, for instances where you assume a contractual risk, whereas a named peril form really must include specific perils that you're likely to encounter in order for there to be coverage. So when you're looking for a carrier, you want them to understand the specific roles that you play or that your business plays in the supply chain. So are you a carrier, a broker, a freight forwarder, or another part of the supply chain? Brokers, for example, might not think to ask, is there contingent coverage available beyond their primary coverage? This type of coverage can be very important, and not only at the time of the loss, but to help preserve relationships with shippers. And then we touched earlier on a reefer hauler. as an example, may not think to ask, is there coverage for mechanical breakdowns or driver error and temperature control settings? And sometimes these can be commonly excluded perils. So you have to think about, to your comment, whether or not those things are going to be there for you. You're going to have those coverages and those resources when bad things happen.
Hey, Steve Ferreira in our comments, he has a question for you. He says, is marine cargo insurance less expensive when a client can prove to travelers or similar that they, the BCO, has opted out from the public manifest reporting system?
I think, something like that's not really going to come directly into play. I think you're going to, if you're doing, as an insurance carrier, if you're doing your homework, you're going to look at each account as a totality. You're going to look at it on its own merits, and you're going to decide based on what they do every day in totality, the proper pricing and the proper considerations.
Interesting, and going through the different coverage and the the riders and that type of stuff and the special considerations. Is there additional considerations beyond what you spoke about that people need to be talking about with or looking into in their coverages?
Definitely. I think, we need to look beyond just the coverage form, right? So I always say, look for a partner that's going to help you before you have a loss. Most people, when they think of insurance, they think about the loss or the day they have a loss. Do they have services that are going to help you identify or anticipate risk or prevent losses? As an example, travelers, we have on-site and virtual risk control consultations to our risk control team. We have a mobile app called Risk Toolworks for customers, and it contains tools, guides, resources. We have a customer portal that offers training tools and learning site with over 1,000 risk management resources. Is the claim team going to be available when you need them, 24/7, 365? Our claim team here at Travelers is available 24/7, 365. We also offer, which you touched on right at the beginning, we have a special investigations group that's dedicated to cargo theft recovery for our clients. So we have 10 investigators across the country that respond to cargo theft 24/7, 365 for our clients. And just since 2011, they've recovered more than 65 million in stolen goods for our clients. Now, that's an exciting number to talk about, and it's a great job that they do. But they work with our clients before those losses happen and try and teach them about cargo theft and how to prevent themselves from becoming a victim of cargo theft. So what is a partner doing for you before you have the loss?
What's going to tell, because exclusions are, your coverage is a great thing, but another big aspect of that is your exclusions as well. So what's going to tell someone that they made the right choice, they have the right coverage, they're filling all the gaps?
Yeah, I think, we touched a little bit on that. I think you want to make sure you partner with somebody who's trying to help you prevent losses in the first place. Are they really working with you so that you don't have that bad day? Eventually you're probably going to have a bad day. It's going to happen. You kind of touched on that in the beginning, but when you do have that bad day, how was your experience at that time? Did they make it easier for you? Did your insurance company make it easier for you, or did they make it more complicated? Think of insurance as an investment, not necessarily as an expense. It's easy to think about just the coverage form, but think about what are you getting beyond that coverage form? And it shouldn't be just all about price. Do a lot of research, do a lot of due diligence, research whether or not that coverage form is going to respond to the contractual obligations that you're making. We always tell carriers you should have a process in place to really review the contracts you're committing to and your coverage form, and how are the two going to mix, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, insurance it's very resource heavy. People need to learn and get educated on this thing. Where would you send them after this? Where can they go on Travelers to learn more information?
Travelers.com.
Travelers.com. It's that easy. So super simple.
That easy.
Stuff. Oh wait, before we let you go, Steve Ferreira. He's the. I don't know if you've ever met Steve Ferreira. He's an ocean consultant, and this topic is fascinating him. He's had about 12 questions, but one is about cargo blackmail. Are there situations where a theft ring offers to point you where the goods are, similar to like ransomware? So, but actually with like physical cargo.
So we really haven't seen too much of that. And I'm not going to say it never happens. There are some times where, a bad actor will go AWOL with the cargo or will try and do that. We haven't seen that so much in the last couple of years. I would say 3, maybe 4 years ago, there was a spike in that type of thing where somebody would hold the cargo and they would, basically say, hey, if you wire me this amount of money or things like that, we can, tell you where the cargo is. And that's kind of faded out. That specific method of cargo theft really comes and goes. It spikes up and then it disappears. You don't hear about it for, a year or two, and then it comes back and it's around for a short period of time.
Wow. Well, hey, Scott, thank you for your time today. Thank you for answering all our questions, including those from the comments. We really appreciate it.